I'm super excited because today's guest is Mr. Pouyan Salehi. He's the co-founder and CEO of tech startup Scratchpad, which is the first workspace design for salespeople. Thank you so much. Welcome, 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 Pouyan, and thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and chat.
We only just had a conversation the other day, and which I really appreciate because it just meant the world to me to really express my gratitude, really. My gratitude of you creating something for people like me. When I say people like me, I say for everyone that's in sales, but also people that are in sales and they're neurodiverse. When I talk about that neurodiversity, it's just simply a diverse way that your kind of brain is designed and you may process things quite differently. And for me, I'm ADHD. And so that means if I'm using Salesforce, which Scratchpad is that workaround, when I'm using Salesforce, it's very challenging for me because it just is, and it made me feel very stressed and everything. But you created something. Can you please tell us how it works and what inspired you to make it?
My co-founder and I have actually been working together for, I don't know, 9+ years. We've been in the sales tech space building stuff, but really what we learned was every salesperson we talked to had Salesforce or some CRM. Let's just say the majority Salesforce. But then what they ended up doing is creating their own what we call workspace.
Okay.
And most people had their own way of taking notes. I mean, some were like paper notebooks like I've got here, or, Evernote or Mac Notes. Then they had a pipeline or like a spreadsheet to manage their pipeline.
Right.
And then they had another way to manage tasks, like from Post-it notes to calendar events. And we saw this over and over and over again. And, it was through a bunch of different connection points and interests that we had that we kind of came together and started looking at it through a slightly different way and said, people are using all these different ways to work because it's easier for them. It's more flexible. It's faster. But then it's causing this rift because I, as the individual, can get my job done. But in most organizations, sales is kind of a team event. And so how's my manager getting the data? How are they making decisions? And that's the piece that was broken. So that's really where I think that the nugget, the idea came from is, gosh, like, what if something existed that was this workspace for salespeople that had all those same core elements that they're using today? It was purpose built for them, but then it also got all the data back to Salesforce so that management and the sales team were happy because, data is really important to sales and it's becoming more so. Everyone, even if you just take notes, for example, if you pull up, 10 different salespeople and you look at how they take notes, even in one app like Evernote or Mac Notes or even Notebook, everyone has their own style. And I think that's the hard part is we're all humans, we're all individuals, we're all unique in some way, and we process information differently. We knew that whatever we built had to be flexible enough where, it could fit different people's style of working. And it's a pretty hard design problem to do something that's that flexible, but then, can work for every sales organization.
I was listening to Brian Burns' podcast, The Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling. Love him. And I'm not kidding. I had so much stress because, I have a responsibility to put that information there. And I was really struggling. So when I heard him mention Scratchpad Chrome extension, I immediately went there. And then it was just like, oh my gosh, okay, this is great. Got a one-on-one from one of your team, Joey. She's right there holding my hand and she's showing me how to put it together. But it's very quick and it's easy. It's not like I'm having to learn another language when I don't have time. And this is just such a great, it's just such a great workaround. But had that been on your mind, had it come into your radar about neurodiversity?
We didn't know to call it that. We saw the evidence. We saw the bits and pieces of it, but we didn't know that this was the name and this was the label and this was the piece. But what we saw was people just worked really differently.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one thing you said is this concept of, especially in sales, like things are so fast moving and there's so many distractions that are thrown your way. I mean, honestly, where it could just be, all these other, it's like all the tools that you have to, and all of a sudden there's Slack and Slack messages popping up and email notifications and all this stuff that, you get off of a call and you're like, all this stuff is coming my way. And then that combined with what you have to deal with if you're using Salesforce directly, again, all the stuff is there,
Yeah.
but it's just things like the slow load times,
Yeah.
right? And it's something like 1 second extra load time,
Mhm.
or even if something requires 2 to 3 extra clicks, like on the surface, these things may seem pretty trivial. It's like, whatever, like you have to click an
Big.
edit button and then a save button.
They're absolutely big when you add it
But
up.
those things add up, exactly, right? And so when you're doing those all day long,
Yeah.
or if your mind is moving so quickly and you're like, like this page is taking 2 seconds to load. So like instantly I'm thinking about the call I just had before, and then this thing next coming up, and I forget to update that thing.
Mhm.
So, we saw these pieces. We said, what are the principles that we want to include in building this thing? Why does this matter? How is this going to be different? And we literally wrote down fewer clicks. We literally wrote down faster. And then listen, on the surface though, you'd think, okay, well, is that really going to be that important? And that's why I say we didn't know. And I think if you were to go to, investors trying to raise capital and saying, we're going to build the whole company around making something faster, or
Right.
just taking out a few clicks, I'd be like, well, where's the ROI on that? How's it going to impact it?
Right.
Now, obviously,
Right.
because we're seeing folks that are using Scratchpad have higher quota attainment. Organizations are selling better, but it's identifying that those things were getting in the way of folks being their best. And I think that we just incorporated those not only as core design principles in building the product,
Mhm.
but we went a step further and actually said, I believe that what you measure is what you'll improve and what the metrics are. And so a lot of organizations will look at, on product engagement, they'll look at how much of the product are people using? How many features are they using? And I
Mm.
remember saying to my team, I'm like, listen, team, that doesn't matter to us. And the reason that was is because it doesn't matter if somebody is only using notes but not pipeline and tasks, or somebody's only using tasks but not the other piece. If
Okay.
they're finding value out of that one piece and it's meaningful to them, that's all we need. That's all we care about. And I think that just helped us, because there was a lot, we read a lot about other companies and product led growth and bottoms up, and that's a measure of engagement. How much of the product are they using? And we said that's not for us,
Okay.
because somebody may just think differently, and they may, like you said, they don't really think in terms of the grid view and spreadsheets, but the notepad and something else is perfect for them, and that's what they use. So we also recognize that, again, we didn't know it would have this impact, but I think this is where we're always on a learning journey ourselves too. And yeah.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. I wish I could talk to you all day, and I'm sure we will have many, many more conversations. I really want to know, and I want you to share where people, how can they get Scratchpad? If you are in sales, if you're dealing with a CRM, how
Yeah.
can they get it to save some time, to be able to report so their bosses can see what's going on, and so they don't leave their job because of it and have anxiety and stress? How can they
Yeah.
find Scratchpad?
Yeah, so if you just go to scratchpad.com, it'll get you to the Chrome extension or the web application, and it's literally 30 seconds or less that you can go from there to actually getting in and using it. And at that point, we're always there to help as well. Folks on our team will reach out to help.
Yes.
It is only working with Salesforce today, so I'll say that if folks are not using if they're using other CRMs, but
Okay.
hopefully in the near future we'll be expanding.
Well, I hope so. I'm so glad you guys got your new seed funding. I wish
Yeah.
you guys all the best. I really do. Thanks everybody for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for
Bye.
having me.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, Brian.